30 is not the new 20. If you think you can piss away time with dating or with doing jobs you don't really care about, you're wrong and you're gonna regret it when you hit 30 or 35. Now, if you think you can just coast because what you do now won't really matter that much and you've got all this time in your life, you're also wrong. Now, if I haven't triggered you enough already, in this video, I wanna share what I think are the two most important life goals you should be focusing on in your 20s based on my experience coaching hundreds of people in their 20s. What's up guys, Alex Hine, author of the book Master the Day. Now, if you want to get more focused, if you're in your 20s or later or earlier, my best advice is by setting goals. Now, the first link in the description is for a free goal setting worksheet to plan out having your best year ever. You're also going to get an email every few days on how to use goal setting to transform your life. So check out the first link in the description. So what are those two things? All right, the two big things you should be focusing on in my experience is deliberate work and deliberate love. So now when it comes to the work quadrant of your life, I had a friend in college and he ended up going to school to become an engineer. And even though engineering wasn't really what he was super passionate about, he had Asian parents, they wanted him to have a safe, secure job. He didn't really know what he wanted, and so he ended up becoming an engineer. And even though he had all the money he wanted, he had the respect of his parents and his friends, he had a safe, secure job, he hated those 10 hours a day of his life. He hated them. Half the day he'd sit on his phone playing video games. And the day he was fired was one of the best days of his life, he told me. Because when he got his severance pay, he just went home, smoked weed, and played video games every day for 6 months as he got paid for it. So it wasn't until years later where he went back to try and find the work he was truly passionate about. So in my opinion, the wrong way to go about work in your 20s is being outcome oriented. Is saying, I'm gonna get a job for this money. I'm gonna get a job for this prestige. I'm just gonna get this job and just see what happens. This seems like a good idea. It's being outcome oriented in the sense that you're focusing on what some kind of endpoint is. But you're in your 20s. You're gonna have 40 plus more years of working. You should not be outcome focused, you should be process focused. So what is the green light here for deliberate work? It's work that is meaningful to you. It's work that is growth oriented especially. It's work where you're focused on skill development, which means you're actually focusing on being the best you can at your job. You focus on becoming the best skill-wise. So if you're cooking food, you're the best chef there is. If you're a social media manager, be creative and try to be the best there's ever been. If you have your own business, obviously try to be the best you can be. If you're an artist, study the craft and be more serious than other people to become the best you're capable of. Deliberate work in your 20s means you're never ever taking a job just because or just for now. You're taking jobs deliberately. You're taking it for the growth, for the experience, for the next step, as if this job is going to be setting you up for the next one, which is going to be bigger, and that'll set you up for the next one. Always be thinking in terms of progression and not the end point. Now, the second thing I mentioned to focus on is deliberate love. And maybe there's no other thing that people screw up and waste more than dating and love in their 20s. And that's why it's so hard to find people who will commit in their 20s. When I was in college, one of my friends, when I was on the crew team, she actually was really in love with this guy and he was a military guy, so he was kind of moving around a lot. And she was really into him, and so she wanted to kind of lock him down, for lack of a better word. And so rather than them being like, let's just keep dating and move slow, she was like, no, I want to get married now. I went to the school in the deep south, Clemson, and she wanted to really lock it down to feel safe. So they got married. And because she got married out of fear of losing this guy, fear of what would come next, she was divorced before she was even 28. After college graduation, she just deleted her Facebook. And I had no clue what happened to her. And then she resurfaced about a few years ago, and I found that she was divorced and remarried. So what really happened? She was not deliberately dating. She married this guy, even though she might have loved him, even though it might have been right, she married him out of fear because it clearly was not working. The military travel. She didn't deliberately date and think, is this really going to work beyond love, beyond compatibility. Is this going to work? So in my mind, here's what I see as the quote wrong way to go about it, all right? The wrong way is casually dating with no expectations, no real goal or no purpose, no reflection is the big one. When you're just dating people and you're like, I don't care, I just want a casual relationship and we can have sex, we can have fun, we don't have to have that much drama or that many feelings, that's fine. But you can do that for 10 years and suddenly you're 30 and you want to get married, and you could have used those years to find out what you really want in a girl or a guy. But now you're 30, and because everyone you dated was casually, you don't know, what kind of person am I most attracted to? What kind of upbringing do I want and don't want? What kind of character traits do I want? What is most important? If I had to cut down my list of 100 things to just 5, what is most important? And if you aren't asking those deliberate questions now, they're not going to magically bubble up from God within you when you're 30 and you suddenly got to get married because the ticking time bomb is going. Those messages, that doesn't just come if you're not thinking about it and you're not reflecting on relationships. Or if you've never been in a relationship, that's worth reflecting on too. What aspects of myself can I improve upon? Maybe it has nothing to do with you, but more likely it does, like it did with me in my 20s. How can I improve to become better, to attract the kind of person that I want? So ultimately, with deliberate work and deliberate love, the reason I bring these things up is because work and love will fill up 90% of your life. You're going to be at work, even if you hate it, 10 hours a day, plus a commute for your whole freaking life. Now, if that doesn't scare the shit out of you into thinking really, really, really intensely about what you truly want to be doing, it should scare you. And if you're thinking in love, I'm going to come home to that person every single night, my best days, my worst days. If that doesn't excite you, then think very carefully about that person, what it is about the relationship. If you are with that person you're with right now, and you could never have sex with them again or kiss them, would you like being around them? That's a big question, right? But that's, to me, one of the most right and proper questions. So I hope that helps you guys. For me, if I would have known to focus more deliberately on my loving relationships, specifically romantic ones, and work to always be growth-oriented, reflect on what I want and what I don't want, and always trying to improve and do better, that would have really set me up for a much better transition from 20 to my early 30s. And I hope it helps you as well. So remember, if you want help plotting this kind of stuff out, download the first link in the description, which is for a free yearly planning worksheet. And what that worksheet's going to help you do is figure out what you really want this year to happen and how you can help get there. So check it out, first link in the description, and then check out my related video on this topic right there and right.